ये रिश्ता क्या कहलाता है 28 January 2024 वॉइस एपिसोड वॉइस अपडेट ऑन VoiceBloom. The episode starts with Ruhi saying fate has to support me. She plays the spin the wheel game again and again. Armaan says come on Abhira, you know it. Abhira thinks. The lady says time up. Abhira says no ma'am, please. The lady says exam will happen in B wing, be there, I am a professor, my work is to test students, you have passion, you will become a good lawyer, you will get your second chance, do your best. Abhira thanks her. She says thanks Armaan, your trick worked. He says calm down, you have your exam. She says we have time. She dances and falls over him. They have an eye lock. Surekha thanks the man and pays money. Ruhi spins the wheel again. Armaan says go and give the exam, good luck. Abhira thanks him and goes. Surekha says Ruhi, we are getting late, come, now last time, whatever comes is the final result. She recalls Armaan. The man says she wins this time and goes from here. Ruhi gets jackpot this time and smiles. Ruhi says I have decided, I won't lose until I get jackpot. Abhira says best day ever, Armaan you know. She calls him out. She says he won't be here all day. Surekha and Ruhi come home. Manish asks about their shopping. Armaan calls Surekha and apologizes. Surekha asks will Abhira behave well with Ruhi. He says I will try to not hurt anyone's feelings. Suvarna takes the phone and scolds him. Manish says he was talking well. She says Ruhi will stay here, it was my decision. Abhira comes to Podar office and asks for Armaan. The girl says he is in meeting, please wait. Abhira thinks to say thanks to him. She sees Armaan and goes to surprise him. Armaan says Ruhi, please come back, there is much stress in the house. Abhira gets sad and goes. He turns to see. Abhira comes home. Kajal says you have aches or char fever, you don't take care. Vidya cries and says children got ego, they are fighting each other, I am helpless. Kajal says don't worry, everything will get fine. Vidya says my two bahus, someone has to understand. Abhira hears them. She goes to Koyanka house. She asks about Ruhi. Suvarna asks her to leave. Manish says Ruhi is in her room, go and meet her. He says let them sort their issues. Abhira goes to Ruhi and says I can't be quiet, come back home, I am sorry. Ruhi says you don't say sorry if you don't feel it. Abhira says I am saying it from heart. Ruhi says Armaan has sent you here. Abhira says no, Vidya has fever, Armaan is living in guilt, they are suffering because of our fight. They argue. Abhira says Armaan stayed awake all night and helped me in assignment, you said Armaan does a lot for me, you were right, he always supports me, he is really good. Ruhi asks was he awake all night? Abhira says yes, I was angry, even then he helped me, he is my true friend, I can't see him getting old in your tension, I am really sorry, please come back home, I never did this for anyone except mama. She holds ears and does sit-ups. She says sorry, forgive me. Ruhi shouts stop it Abhira. Abhira leaves. Abhira comes home and says I need to say sorry because of Armaan. She sees Akshu's pic and hugs it. She gets a dream catcher for Armaan. Armaan sees her and ends a work call. She says Kiara made it, it's so pretty. He says yes, she is the only artist in our house. She says no, I am the mall of talent, I got this gift for you. He says it's not my birthday today. She says you helped me today, sorry for whatever I said, I went to say sorry to Ruhi again. He asks what? She says yes, I did sit-ups also, she rejected my sorry. They both fix the dream catcher. They have a moment. He gets Ruhi's call. He rushes and answers. She says I had to ask something, if I say I want to come back home then. He asks what, I will come anytime to take you. She says I didn't decided it. He says decided, I'll hit your fab kachoris, pakoras and rasmalai, please come. Abhira thinks how does he know about Ruhi so much, there is something between them. Armaan says I will come right away. Ruhi says wait, your answer will decide it. He asks what's the question? She says I will ask you, but not now, don't tell this at home. She ends call. Abhira gives the car keys and asks him to get Ruhi. He asks, were you hearing our talk? It's my personal matter, please stay out of it. He goes. It's morning, Armaan thinks of Ruhi's words. Abhira gets his shoe. She jokes and praises herself. He says, I have imp meeting, I will go. She says, everyone has it, you have worn wrong shoes. He asks what? He takes the shoe. He leaves. She says there is something troubling him. He calls office and cancels his meetings. He says, I want to know what Ruhi wants to know. Abhira asks what? Someone else is assisting boss. I told you about college issue, give me second chance. Manager says go home if you are done. She says no, I will not go home, I will get this internship. Charu sees Abhira coming. She worries and hides. Abhira knocks the door and gets in. She doesn't see anyone and goes. Charu says Abhira has to leave. Abhira comes home. She sees the file on the bed. She calls Armaan. She thinks to go and give the file to Armaan. Armaan meets Ruhi at the cafe. He says sorry to hurt you so much. Abhira comes to his office. Armaan says I ordered chocolate pastry for you, I know you like it, have it. Ruhi says I hope things stay the same, it's a rule, everything changes in life, can you break this rule for me, can you turn away from your priorities for my sake? Armaan gets thinking. She asks can you promise me? He thinks how can I promise her, when we have no right on each other? Abhira asks what, Armaan didn't come to office. The girl says yes, didn't he tell you? Abhira says oh yes, I forgot. She thinks Armaan didn't come to office and lied to me. Armaan recalls Dadi's words. Abhira comes to his cabin. She checks Armaan's cafeteria order on his laptop. Armaan asks Ruhi to eat the pastry. Ruhi says I have broken promises with me, will you break this promise? He says never. She smiles and eats the pastry. He asks will you come home with me? She nods. They are on the way. She says I will tell Manish that I am going home. Armaan's car breaks down. He checks the car. He says I will call my mechanic, there is no network. She says it's not there in my phone also. A man passes by and asks shall I help? Armaan says no, just tell me if there is any mechanic around. The man says yes, garage is far. Armaan says we will come. The man says sit on my cycle. Armaan says 3 persons on one cycle, go and call the mechanic. The man says rest at my house. Ruhi says no chance, how can we stay there? The man says think of it, the area is bad, anything can happen. Armaan says go and call the mechanic. Ruhi says he was strange, I felt scared, his house is more strange. Armaan says it's unsafe place, we will go there, don't worry, I am with you. She says I know you are with me now. He looks for some thirsty. They check some tap. The water splashes on them. They have a moment. Abhira thinks why did Armaan lie? She is on the way. She argues with the auto rickshaw driver. He says this is the right route. She sees Armaan's car and stops the auto. She goes to see the car. She says where is Armaan, did anything happen to him? No. She doesn't get network. She sees Ruhi's bangle in the car. She sees the house nearby. She sees Armaan at the window and thinks he is here at this time. Armaan steps on some paper. Ruhi sees the heart drawing torn and says you broke the heart. Armaan says sorry, I know to join it, help me. They fix the drawing. The driver asks Abhira if she has to come or not. Abhira recalls Rohit's words. She thinks that girl would be Armaan's chitwali. Ruhi says if that misunderstanding didn't happen between us, then reality would have different, we would have been together and happy. Abhira walks to the house to see. Armaan says but we aren't together, this is our fate. Ruhi says I am saying the same, we are today because of fate, this is our truth. Armaan says Ruhi. Ruhi says Armaan. And hugs him. Abhira gets shocked.